Good morning, everybody.
Morning. Morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me, Justin?
I certainly can.
It wasn't working earlier.
And it looks like we have a quorum in the gallery at the moment. We're still waiting for a couple more people to show up potentially, but we could start off if we would like.
Okay, I guess so we should start with introductions.
Yep. I'll do a quick roll call and then I think it would be good for the group to go around and kind of introduce themselves before we kick it off in earnest. So starting off with the roll call, tag chair Angela Hopt,
Here.
tag chair alternate Dan Young,
Here.
building official primary Jen Elliott.
Here.
Thank you. Building official alternate Quinn Ty. I got to notice that he would be here, but he's not online just yet. Home builder primary Patrick Hanks. I have a tentative from him, so he may pop on in a bit. Codes consultant primary Ron Perkowicz.
Here.
Thank you. Codes consultant alternate Ken Brulette. Not seeing in the audience today. Structural engineer primary Josh Mergens.
Present, and I unfortunately will not be able to be here for the full meeting. Just a heads up for roll call.
Okay, thank you. Josh, when you do leave, could you just raise your hand and let us know so I can just make sure we're still maintaining quorum. We have extra seats at the moment, but just want to make sure we maintain if we're making decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Fire Services Representative Primary Barry Kurth.
Here.
Thank you. For the alternate, Justin Carvalho.
Here.
For Cities and Counties Primary, Mariko Blessing.
Here.
Thank you. For General Public Subject Matter Expert Primary, Jonathan Jones. Not seeing online. For the alternate, Leah Summer. I'm also not seeing online. And then for Affordable Housing Representative Primary, Annie O'Rourke, and I got a declined on the meeting from her. So with that, we are sitting with 6 of our seats represented. So if somebody has to leave, just let us know, and we should still maintain quorum. If we lose 2 seats, we'll be suffering lack of quorum at that point. And then I guess let's go around and introduce, and I'll let the chair kick off.
All right, my name is Angela Haupt. I'm a plan review supervisor for the city of Kirkland, and I am the chair for this committee.
And then Dan Young, if you wouldn't mind following up.
Good morning. My name is Dan Young. I'm the Kittitas County Fire Marshal. I'm also the head of the fire tag.
Thank you, Dan. I'll follow up and then I'll go down my list again. My name's Dustin Kerb. I'm the managing director for the State Building Code Council staff, and you'll be seeing me kind of facilitating these meetings until staff grows a little bit. Next on our list of present folks, I've got Jen Elliott, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself a little bit.
Yeah, that's Luke, and I'm a plans examiner with the city of Bellevue.
Thank you. Next, Ron Perkowicz.
I'm a past 24 years as building official in Kitsap County, past chairman of International Conference of Building Officials, member of the first ICC board of directors, and I am do code consulting and building inspections at this time.
Thank you. Josh Mergens.
I'm Josh Mergens. I'm owner of Balance Structural Engineering. I was involved in the IBC tag that, well, I guess is still ongoing, but that we wrapped up the large part of our work recently. And this is my second round being involved in code development process.
Thank you, Josh. Barry Kurth.
Good morning. I'm Barry Kurth. I'm a battalion chief and city fire marshal for the city of Mount Vernon and current board member for the Washington State Association of Fire Marshals.
Thank you, Barry. Justin Carvalho.
Hi, I'm Justin Carvalho, and I'm a fire protection engineer for the city of Spokane.
Thank you. And Mariko Blessing.
Hi, I'm Mariko Blessing. I am a building plans examiner supervisor for the city of Seattle.
All right, thank you, everybody. That's all that I have in attendance today. And I don't see anybody else that's popped on that we don't have on here. So that would kind of wrap it up for our tag intros to everybody.
Hi, Dustin. This
Oh,
is Leah Sommer, Plans Examiner Supervisor with Pierce County.
oh, thank you, Leah. I didn't see you pop on. All right, I think that is all of them. So with Leah joining us, we have an extra seat here. So we've got 7 seats represented, and we need 5 seats for our quorum at the moment.
Okay, so then I guess we move on to the review and approving of the agenda. So I think, can I get a motion to approve that in a second?
Oh,
So
just a
moved.
quick, was that Barry?
Nope, that was Jen.
Barry, sorry. Sorry, Jen, sorry. And then Barry, were you intending to second that?
Yeah, I hadn't, but I will.
Okay. Just a quick note on motion making and seconding. If you're here and you have and you're an alternate, please just maintain that if the primary seat is there, they will retain the powers of motion making and voting. So if you have 2 of your representatives for your seat here, only one should be making motions and voting on them, and that'd be the primary. And I also see Patrick Hanks just joined up with us as well. But I guess we'll finalize the motion.
Yeah, Quinn just joined also.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 And all those opposed? All right, so we're good with that. Move on to agenda item number 3.
Alrighty. Angela, would you prefer I kind of introduce the document and begin I guess just kind of going through it? Okay. So this is our existing amendments report in not necessarily draft format, but it's ready for the tag to start making recommendations on the content here. This was drafted and went to the BFRW committee meeting last Friday and directed back down to the tag for input. At this Friday, we're anticipating the proposals that have been received. They were posted last night to this meeting under an other business topic for the agenda. So we're not looking to make movement on those because they haven't been officially directed to the tag for work yet. So the main body of what we're doing here today is to look at the existing amendments review report, update any of the staff recommendations, and get this ready to go back up to the BFRW committee, and then finally onto the council. And this is a little bit different than the group 1 codes. This was kind of going through the process with the proposals at the same time. The group 1 codes had the reports ready before the proposals were taken by SBCC, and so just to try to keep things in the timeline we're trying to meet, which is December 1 for final adoption this year. These are running concurrently with the proposals received. So it was my hope that we would go through this and not necessarily have to read line by line. I am prepared to do that, but I guess as we go through, I'm gonna try to go through the different sections, first the preface and then chapter by chapter, and see if there's any targeted sections for existing amendments that folks would like to talk about. And if it's needed, we can go through here line by line and see what's happening here. And does that sound like a plan to you, Angela?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna run through them individually just to make sure that we agree, but people should have kind of reviewed a little bit.
Yes. Okay, so kicking off, we're going to start in the preface. This isn't any specific code language. This is all WAC language specific to Washington. These sections live in the beginning of the code book in the preface section, and really just to kind of identify some of our charging language from WAC, telling us our authority for adopting and which specific sections we adopt in the residential code. So in WAC 5151001 talks about our authority for adopting the residential code, and that authority is granted to the SBCC under RCW 19.27. My recommendation is to keep that amendment because nothing has changed within that section. Bringing us to 5151002, which is the purpose. There's no change in there, and so we're looking to keep that amendment. The first amendment we'd be looking to change is 5151003, the International Residential Code. This section tells us which version of the model code we are working with, and then also indicates which chapters are adopted or not adopted, and which appendices are adopted. So in this section, you'll see highlighted there, I have the 2021 edition. It needs to be updated to the 2024 edition. The chapters that are not adopted by my reading are going to remain the same. And then the appendices in here are re-lettered in the 2024 code. So those are highlighted for updates on lettering. And so this is an editorial update here that I'm proposing. And I will, I guess, pause to see if there's any other input on this one, since this is a particular modification. Patrick.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. I have a question about the process for how we'll be doing amendments. I know with group one, it was decided that the tag or tag members on behalf of the tag would submit code change proposals that the tag had agreed on during this process, but the code proposal window has closed. So for any amendments that we'll be making, how will we be doing that?
So, for stuff that we're doing that are editorial modifications, like what we have before us right now, the plan is to talk about them and make the editorial modification to make it align with the 2024 code. If we're talking about substantive amendments, that's something I'll need to discuss with the other with Angela and also the executive committee to see if there's anything we are looking to do. But it was kind of envisioned that any substantive modifications will have to not happen at this point since the window is closed. But I'm happy to entertain something else and to discuss potential issues that we discover here further with all the council.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, I guess back to the International Residential Code 5151003. Is there any comment on the content of this modification to the existing WAC there? I'm not seeing any hands flying up. Would it be safe to say that the tag is an agreement to modify this existing amendment with in the areas that I have highlighted there? So I guess what I'm trying to do as we run through this report is to get the recommendation boxes filled out.
Do we want to make motions on this sort of line item by line item, or just make a motion at the end?
Well, I guess I was trying to get that kind of clarified at the beginning, but if we go line item by line item, it's going to take a long time. I was kind of hoping to do it chapter by chapter on this one.
Okay. And for this one, we're just updating the appendices references, not the appendices themselves.
Correct.
All right, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. So as I run through, I'm not going to put anything in these boxes. We'll go through that, and then if we have discussion on things to change as far as the recommendation for the modifications, I'll make some notes in those boxes, and then we can entertain motions at the end of each section. This next one, 5151-007, talks about the exceptions. We don't have any modification needed to this particular section. You'll see here the pronouns his or her are highlighted. In 2023, we had an emergency rule request to change all of the pronouns to gender neutral pronouns across our WAC. The council voted to deny the emergency rule request and to do this work as part of our normal code making cycle. So I have this highlighted to as part of that. This is about the only place in this code that I have identified that. The emergency rule request didn't request that we go through and change every pronoun across the International Residential Code. And I'm not trying to entertain doing that, but anywhere where we have a WAC that has a pronoun in there, we're trying to shift to their instead of his or her pronouns in there. And that was just as a past business that we're still trying to undertake as part of what we got going on here today. So just an editorial modification for that section highlighted there. And then that brings us to 5151-008. And an editorial modification is needed here to change the effective date to align with the intended implementation date of November 1, 2026 within this section. And so that brings us to the end of the preface sections, and it would be, I guess, the time to entertain a motion to accept the recommendations on this section.
Motion to accept the recommendations as written for this section.
Seconded.
Okay, is there any discussion? Quinn?
For 5107, I believe it was, about regarding the appendices, or was that 06?
It's 03.
03, yeah. There is a proposal to add another appendix. So is that something that we would need to relook at later on after this vote?
That's still editorial.
Yeah, so when if that proposal to adopt Appendix O, no, I'm sorry, that's not the right appendix. It's a new appendix that we would have coming in. We would get that edited into the document and number the appendices as appropriate, and then we would editorially come back to this section and make sure that that's correlated here as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion?
I have Ron, I have a question. Do they have to go through rulemaking authority to amend the WAC, even though we do this process?
I didn't quite follow the question. So it's about the rulemaking authority for amending the WAC?
Yes. Can they amend the WAC just by adoption of, these changes as they go through the SBCC process? Or do they have to go to rulemaking authority?
Oh, they have to go through the room. So this process is the beginning of our rulemaking process for the IRC. It follows the same process for the rest of the codes. We've got a CR 101 on file, which is a notice to the public that says, hey, we're interested in making some changes to this particular WAC, which the notice goes out as, we're interested in WAC 5151, which is the International Residential Code. And I believe it says that we're doing updates for the 2024 code. So once we are done with the reports that we have in front of us today and making recommendations on the proposals that have been received, that will get drafted into proposed rules and get filed as a CR 102. And that'll go through the Administrative Procedure Act process and get filed with the code revisor, and has to sit for about 2 months before a public comment hearing is held. And then after that, the council will entertain the public comment concerns raised and potentially make changes to the code based on public comment. And then a CR 103 is filed before as final adoption. So it does go through the rulemaking process. I believe I'm addressing what you're asking. It's just we're not going to go through this and then it just magically appears on the ICC website before it goes through the rulemaking process.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And let me finish up some notes here. All right. Getting into chapter 1. We have scope and administration. For this one, this section had an opinion on it that is looking to clarify exceptions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We had an opinion written by the council and issued earlier this year on this one. And researching that particular or this code section and this particular amendment, there's no proposal that came in the 2021 cycle to make this amendment look the way it looks. And I'm not sure where it came from. I do believe it was included in the CR 103 documents, but I still don't have any real evidence on where this language came from and how it got in here. And so the contentious part of this section is that we have adult family homes and child family home care facilities that may be interpreted by jurisdictions to be a care facility with 5 or fewer persons. And some of these numbers don't align with some of our other definitions in the code. We do have a proposal on this section that looks to clean it up. So I don't think that we're still in need of a proposal to work on this one. But this one was needing a modification because of some clarity issues that was became evident at the end of the last code cycle. Patrick.
Yes, I sort of have a point of order question. Did we vote on the preface?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
I think that Angela, did you remember? I think you carried that one through.
Did I carry it through? I thought we
Well,
did.
I remember a motion. I don't remember the vote.
Then let's go ahead and do the vote. Angela, I'll let you
Sorry.
handle that.
Everyone in favor of accepting them as written, say aye.
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 All those opposed? All right.
Yeah,
Thanks, Patrick. I'm
So,
new.
sorry, just trying to make sure we
Yeah.
dot all our T's.
I appreciate it, Patrick. All right. So with this one, particular in 101.2, we have a proposal for it in the queue. I don't think that we need to entertain the tag writing any additional proposals there. We'll do the work with the proposal that's there. And I just want to pause on this one because this one was a little bit of a headache for us. Is there any comments or constructive criticism on this particular section from the group here?
So I can actually give a little clarification as to why the tag probably did edit this the way it did. I don't think there was probably an official proposal for it, but all of the red actually is what brings it into alignment with the base code as far as all of these exceptions, because the base code actually requires, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm just hearing something in the background. And so it's basically because the base code, the IRC requires sprinklers in all structures. And because we removed them, that's why we had to add this language to these to show that these exceptions are allowed in the IRC as long as they are sprinklered. So that's sort of where I think that language came from, probably a little bit on the fly by the tag itself.
Anybody else on this section? I just remember this one being a contentious section when I was looking to write a interpretation on it. All right, well, I'm going to move through and with the intent to leave modify existing amendment the same there. For section 101.2.1, the appendices, this one has a little bit of model code language included in there that's been changed in the 2024. You'll see highlighted in the blue text. The rest of the red text is amendment language, and we have several appendices in there that are renumbered and moved around. Anything that is AW, V, AWY, AWZ, and AWU, I do believe that those are Washington created appendices, and so those will probably go at the end of the list, and then the rest of those AR, ASAT, AF, and AQ, they just have some different letters in their locations in the model code. And so this one needs to just be updated with editorial stuff as we finalize drafting of this particular section. Patrick.
Sorry, I had a clarifying question on the last one. What, I'm unclear as to what exactly we would be modifying with the existing amendment under the staff recommendation.
As far as modifying the existing amendment, we would just be updating the new model code language to change specifically referenced in the adopting ordinance to specifically adopted. So we've been incorporating that model.
Not in this one, in the last one we talked about, the
This one up here?
yeah, the scope.
This one, as far as modifying, if we didn't have a proposal for it, the intent was to bring it back to the original 101.2 modification. So this one's had an amendment to it for a while. But the intent would have been to take it back to something that I can stand behind as far as showing evidence where the amendment came from. But we have a proposal on here that's going to align this one back kind of in line with what we have going on here.
Okay, thank you.
All right, for 102.7.1. Go ahead.
For 102.5, that's also been moved. Okay, you do have it in 102. Okay, you did move the section. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, so we'll see in these columns, I have a 2021 IRC location and a 2024 IRC location. And in a lot of these, if there's not a lot of comments on them and they've just moved, I have some renumbering target locations in there as well. But yeah, I think I've caught most of the movement of these sections around the code. So for additions, alterations, change of use, repairs, or relocations, this one's moved from 102.7.1 to 102.6.1. I don't have any new model code language that came into this section and am recommending that we maintain the existing amendment. Same for 1027.2. This particular amendment is not a model code language section and just needs to be moved to where it fits in good. And so I have it set to move to 102.6.2 to keep it after the section above here. And that's all I have for chapter 1. Is there anything that we should go back and talk about a little bit further? Not seeing any. Oh, there's Patrick.
So on the scope, would updating it to the model code language, would that change or affect how we've not adopted mandatory fire sprinklers for single family construction statewide?
Well, with the proposal we have on deck, I don't think it's going to change anything. I think, Angela, that proposal that you drafted is meant to just clarify this section better.
Yeah, it's proposal 29, and all it's doing is pulling adult family homes out of the actual scope language and adding it as an exception to make it clear that it doesn't require sprinklers. And the existing language that's shown in red for the exceptions is existing, and it is to make it consistent with why those are allowed to be pulled from the IBC and put into the IRC. They do require sprinklers in order to do that, but that's not going to change. It's going to be, it's the same requirements that were in the 21.
I'm fine with any modifying things that need to happen for clarity or to make it mesh with, sections moving or appendices or whatnot, but I just want to make sure the effect is not going to change under any tag amendment for this. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. And right now, what we're looking at on this list is that it needs to be modified per the proposal. That's not approving the proposal. That's just saying later down the line, we're going to have to look at a proposal. But currently, as shown here, this language has not changed.
I'll make a motion to approve chapter 1 recommendations from staff.
I'll second.
Yeah. Is there any more discussion on chapter 1? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? I'm sorry, opposed? No. All right. On to chapter 2.
In chapter 2, we have definitions. So looking at adult family home, and I'll point out that we have several proposals that are impactful to adult family homes, and all of them are intended to clarify what's included in statute and not in the building code, and bring, no regulatory change, just to clarify some stuff. But we have a couple different proposals that impact the section 1.2 and also section 330, which will need to be moved around to fit into the 2024 sections. Anyway, adult family home, don't have any proposals that came in to modify this definition, and I didn't see any need to modify the definition, so recommending keeping the definition. The definition for building, our amendment strikes out the definition applicable in chapters 11, and since we don't adopt chapter 11, we have struck that section from this definition. Definition for existing building, I'm recommending to maintain the same. I have it in here marked as an editorial to align with the model code definition for existing building. Let me pull that up and see what that looks like here. Give me 2 seconds.
They changed the actual definition title to existing building.
Oh, okay, so it's not building, comma, existing.
It's changed now to existing building.
Okay. Is that a change as far, I mean, are we okay with that being an editorial amendment to this section? Okay. Not seeing any hands flying up. For childcare family home, I don't have any reason to amend this definition, so recommending to keep that one the same. Same for child daycare. Same for conditioned space. This one has the modification to remove chapter 11 and references from the definition. For distributed whole house ventilation, I don't have a desire to change that definition without any external proposals. When we get to dwelling unit, we have a model code language change that includes a reference to chapter 24. They have some specific definitions included there. And so I am recommending to modify this amendment to incorporate that new model code language and maintain the amendments as shown here in red. Egress roof access window, no indications that we need to update that definition. Same for the enclosed kitchen. For fire separation distance, I have a recommendation to incorporate the new model code language, which includes townhouse units to this one. I have it noted as a proposal needed for this one, and so this section of this report was written prior to the proposal period opening and closing. As far as this one, I would kind of consider this one an editorial correction to incorporate new model code language that doesn't change the regulatory effect, and I would like to pause to see what folks think about that. So I'm not seeing any hands coming up. I will keep on going on for this one, and I'm going to remove the proposal needed portion of this section and to incorporate the model code language. For floor area, no need to update that existing state amendment. Same for landing platform. For local exhaust, I am recommending that we repeal the existing state amendment because the model code language is almost the same and would have the same regulatory effect by my read. And so I'll pause for that one since this is the first one to repeal an existing amendment. And I'm going to pull up the definitions here so we can view those side by side. All right. Here's local exhaust.
This is Ron. I have a question back on floor area.
Okay.
If a local jurisdiction wants to amend this to make it more restrictive, do they need to send that through SBCC for approval?
Yes, sir. So if a local jurisdiction wanted to change this in their adopting ordinance, they would run through the process at the local level and submit the change to SBCC for approval. And there's a couple different ways that can run through. You can do a draft of that change and send it to SBCC for pre-approval before it's adopted at the local level. Or you can finish the adoption at the local level, but bring it to the SBCC after for a final approval. I guess the key takeaway though is before it comes to SBCC, it's not technically enforceable.
Okay, yeah, because we have some stuff going on with mezzanines and other things. So, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. So for local exhaust, when I brought that screen up, it jumped to the S's definition. So let me get back down to it. Here we go. Local exhaust, an exhaust system that uses one or more fans to exhaust air from specific rooms, from a specific room or rooms within a dwelling. And then looking at this one, an exhaust system that uses one or more fans to exhaust air from a specific room or rooms within a residential dwelling or sleeping unit. So I'd like to hear thoughts on potentially repealing this existing amendment because the model code language is the same.
I'm curious the intent of including specifically sleeping unit on the original amendment. Do you have any background on that?
I have a little bit of background. So this particular amendment was added in 2018, and there it is. And we have this WSR document to look at. We'll pop it open. And this is, and as far as seeing good discussion topics on here, I don't see a super awesome statement in here. So this is one of the issues I found with going back and looking at our older rulemaking documents, is that the justification for why a change was made is not necessarily there. So when I joined up with SBCC, the managing director at the time wanted us to get better rationale statements in these sections, and this particular document is pre-Stoyan. And so it was added here, but I'd have to go back and find the code proposal on that one to get a more robust uh, look into what was happening here in some. So I don't have a great answer for you on that one. So just that they were looking to modify that definition based on this WSR. This is the first stop shop for diving into what our changes are. Some of these have like here in design criteria, the amendment was deleted because it's addressed in the 2018 code. If we do rationale to change this back to a model code section, the rationale in our this is a CR 102 document, we would put in there that the model code is, you know, regulatorily the same as this one. But I don't have a good read on residential sleeping unit, why that's included in there.
And I don't either, but it looks very intentional when you're looking at the two definitions and how it was changed. I would almost want to see like and maybe there's not a way to do that, but without seeing something that basically says there's really no reason for it to be there, I feel a little reluctant to remove it without a little bit more background on it.
Okay. And I'm open to that. You know, one of the charges of the SBCC is to reduce amendments, you know, if necessary. And so if this is just on there because, you know, there's somebody wanted a sleeping unit in there and it's not a specific, you know, need, it would be advantageous to remove the amendment so that changes in the model code, if they happen to this section, um, it reduces work in the on the far end of that one. I'll pause. Joshua.
Yeah, I maybe am just getting caught up. I was out Friday and Monday and just kind of came into this meeting. And are we really doing the entire existing changes approval right here, right now?
We're beginning work on it. So
Okay.
if we
I gotta admit, I'm not feeling super comfortable that I've really even been able to see any of this at this point. It's I don't know, I'm a little surprised. I saw 8:45. Oh my gosh, there's a 9 a.m. meeting, and it's like, okay, everyone approve everything. I see digging through my emails and trying to get caught up here. There was something sent out Friday that has some of these reports. I'm just wondering if maybe we want to go through and focus on the ones that are obvious, and then some of these at least give us a week to look at, or at some kind of time to look at. I'm not feeling good about the work I'm doing here right now.
I hear you.
And I'll also include that I just recently came into all these documents too, so I haven't had a chance to really get my feet wet on them before coming in here to make any sort of informed decision.
Okay.
Hey, Patrick has his hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm trying to look through and compare the model code and the existing amendment for local exhaust, and they seem pretty similar to me. It feels like the model code might be a slight improvement, so I think I'm fine with moving towards the model code language. And that would at least indicate to the public on the CR 102 that we're changing something, and if there's, you know, good reason not to, that can come in during public comment.
So I just went through and I did a quick search in the Washington State 21 residential code, and where local exhaust is used, it is basically, from what I saw, it only refers to dwelling units. It doesn't actually call for it to be required in sleeping units. So for this one, my suggestion would be to go with the model code, but I would also, for the sake of, you know, voting and approving, I would say make a note on this to sort of to pull it out of the vote, so that those that want to do a little more research on their own to see if they're comfortable with changing this to just be rooms within a dwelling, versus having sleeping unit basically in there, that we do that. And then, and kind of we can do that as we go continuously. If people want time to sort of mull on it or think about it a little bit more, we can bring these back at the next meeting to do a separate vote on them. And that way we can still keep moving ahead with the majority of the document.
I think that sounds like a reasonable approach from my end.
Agreed.
Jen?
Sure. Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, we have these separate definitions of dwelling and sleeping unit. So it seems like removing that definition would remove potentially a requirement that they have exhaust. And I guess I'm confused because I thought we were sort of just generally getting this prepared and we weren't actually approving. Yes, for sure, we're just going to keep this existing amendment verbatim. We usually look at the base model code and see if it changed and then determine, does it need to be edited or not? I thought we were.
That's what this is. Staff already did the work for us. In the rest of the tags, that's what the tags spent a big chunk of time up front creating this report themselves. Dustin and the rest of staff already did it for us. That's what this report is they already went through and identified and made the suggestions versus just giving us a list of the current state amendments. They've already done all that legwork up front that has had to be done by the tags historically. So all we're doing is we're just checking their work and making sure we agree with their suggestions. That's what we're doing.
Okay. I feel a little bit better about it, but I still agree that you feel like I'm just suddenly thrown into this without any preparation. And I also don't feel great about just doing the final approval or no approval without having a chance to really look at it. But I super appreciate them doing all that groundwork up front.
Yeah, so again, I think there are some that are kind of obvious that are just kind of yeah. But on any of these that people want to have further discussion or whatever, we'll just pull those out of the report, basically out of the vote, and we'll revisit them next time. Joshua?
Hi, I'm sorry if this has already been addressed. I know Patrick asked briefly earlier, but just comparing this to the previous tag, throughout this review process that the tag was doing is also when we would be identifying potential tag proposals. I know the proposal section is closed. I maybe need a quick refresh on what our role is in this one, because right now it sounds like we're just kind of saying aye to what the staff presented, and then proposals are closed and we're done. I'm a little bombarded and confused by what's going on this morning.
So there's another report also that is the changes that were made to the base code that we'll need to go through, and those we'll need to also look at and go with the staff proposals. And then we also have proposals that came from the public.
So the tag will not have the opportunity to make proposals on this round. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, the tag has, yes, if they have the opportunity to submit proposals on things that have been identified on these two reports. So either this one that is the existing state amendments, if something needs to be edited, it would come down to the tag to figure out how to fix it. And then also the significant changes report, where we're determining if we want to accept the change that was made to the base code, or if there's something we feel needs to be done to it to bring it back into where we want it as the state. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So we do still get to make proposals to changes on the significant changes identified by the staff.
Right. You don't get to submit changes just random that aren't already somewhere identified as needed.
Sure.
But
no, that does make sense. I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah. And Dustin, if I'm incorrect on any of it, please clarify.
Well, I would say that we're in a new territory with this one. So we're running this concurrent, we're trying to keep on a tight timeline and working within the bounds of what we have available to us as far as staff goes. For the 2024 Group 1 codes, there was a delay on that front as well, where the tag took all the work that staff has done for this particular group and took that out and did the work, and we brought it back and discussed it, and then the proposal period was opened to the public and for the tag to do that work for proposals. The desire here to do what we did and then bring it to you in the format you see now was mainly to try to reduce the staff need to manipulate documents that come back less. So when we were getting stuff back from the other groups, it was a large amount of time to get those all incorporated back in due to formatting and issues there. And the idea was to try to reduce that time frame, and it ended up not necessarily saving any time. We're still behind the 8 ball on this one, and in a time crunch. So as far as the tag submitting proposals, if we identify that a section needs an amendment that's not already covered by a proposal that's been received out of the public proposal window, I think that we have the ability to do that. But I would like to try to avoid a large window of time where we're trying to prepare those. The whole reason this got published on Friday and is now before us today is the fact that we're on a tight timeline trying to keep in line. And so Angela realized, where we're at with this and wanted to get this going. I'm hearing folks aren't feeling super comfortable with the material here today. And I think that it could be a feasible path forward to go through, look at stuff, make sure we agree, and pull specific sections out. I've got notes on, pulling, local exhaust out for a little bit more review later down the road. but maybe today we shouldn't be making votes on the specific chapters and agreeing here. Like in the past, we had gone through chapter by chapter and then done a final vote on the entire text of these reports. So there was kind of a double opportunity to have input on each specific section. But I'm hearing from, three people here so far today that this might be a little bit cart before the horse going through it as is today, because really the only person who's got the exposure to what's before us is myself, because I'm the drafter of what you got have here. And so I'd like to, I guess, hear from folks, if today's not the day for going through this in earnest and trying to get movement forward, what might we be entertaining doing while also still trying to expedite this process? I don't know if anybody else has been tuned into the energy code stuff, but those particular groups met for 6 to 8 hours a day, and they're getting ready to recommend that code to CR 102. And right now we're just behind the gun on this one and looking to move forward. So I'll pause there. And Josh, you got your hand up first.
I'll make this my last comment just in the interest of the time that you've mentioned, but I just kind of want to point out, yes, the last process on the IBC tag sure seemed long and lengthy, and we went through a lot, and I definitely appreciate trying to speed that up, but I feel like we've swung so full tilt to the complete opposite side, where we spent like 6 months reviewing an IBC, which was too much. And now we Friday 2 p.m. get a report that we've never seen, when I've been emailing you guys for months asking if there's something I can do, and no one responds to me. And then Friday at 2 p.m. we get documents. Tuesday we're voting on it for an entire code book. I feel like, yeah, we should expedite this, and having some of this prepared ahead is a great way to expedite it. I'm actually a fan of this, because last time, to be honest, I sure felt like I was missing out on quite a bit of revenue for just copying and pasting things for the state, which didn't really, I don't know, feel great as a volunteer for my time. But now I feel like I'm not even really involved in this, so I'll leave my comments at that. But boy, did we swing to the other side of this. If it was up to me in a perfect world, what I would suggest is that we get 1 week to review these documents, not barely 24 working hours. 1 week is all, and then we can have this meeting that you're proposing now in a way that's informed. We had zero communication for months, and now all of a sudden it's a vote. I'm a little taken aback, but I will stop saying it now because I've made my point clear, and I don't want to take up time when we're tight on schedule.
Thank you, Josh. Patrick?
Yeah, I'll say I, completely agree and sympathize with Jen and Joshua. And I think it does behoove us a little bit to have maybe a little conversation on schedule, just because I don't think everybody's aware. I appreciate the work that Dustin's been put into this, but just to put it bluntly, like, short timeline doesn't even quite cover what we have here. The council is going to meet this Friday and send the proposals to us, presumably. We'll then have 2 full weeks before the August council meeting in which to meet, discuss all those proposals, form any work groups, do any work that we want done on that. And then the council meets on August 15th, I believe, in which case they'll need to send everything that we have, including we need to have these reports done, sent to the committee with any code changes that we want done, and have that all approved by the council August 15th, so that staff then have about a week to file and prepare all the CR 102 documentation, which is practically speaking impossible to do the small business economic impact statement. Because if we don't file all of it by the 26th, we're going to miss the publishing timeline in order to have a hearing in November, which is the last possible time to have one before the council has to adopt the final code language the first week of December and then have it sit through the legislative session. So that's what we're heading into. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. And that is an accurate accounting of time that Patrick just gave us. We're up against a real hard time to keep this on track for the timelines as published. And so that is the genesis of the rush that we've got going on here. Quinn.
So with what everyone is saying, I would suggest and maybe make a motion that we use today's meeting mostly as a kickoff administrative uh, session to plan future meetings. And my proposal is because there's such a rush that we meet starting next week, twice a week because of that rush, and for 3 hours, like Tuesdays and Thursdays, if it fits people's schedule, until the legislation or the council meetings when it gets passed. Then we could go back to once a week or once every other week. But in the short term, I would propose that we meet twice a week, 3 hours a day, starting next week.
Thank you, Quinn. Barry?
First, I want to apologize. I don't normally use Zoom, so I just found where the raise your hand button is. But Dustin, I do appreciate all the work that you've done. I don't want that to go unnoticed. It's great the amount of time you spent on it. And I do think that I'm booked out till noon for this meeting today. I'm happy to do like a once through on this, kind of like you suggested, and getting all the low hanging fruit pulled out of this. And then maybe on the next meeting, we just focus on those other ones with a little bit of time to review in between now and then. And then on the other front of that, if we do go to a 2 time a week, 3 hours, I mean, I'm a sole entity in my jurisdiction. So I'm the fire marshal, I'm the inspector, I'm everything. So I'd probably heavily rely on my alternate to attend one of the meetings and myself attend the other meeting, if that would be okay.
I mean, that is, allowable. We want as much people coming as possible, but we also we try to be understanding of everybody's a volunteer here. Everybody's got a daytime job that, puts food on their table. And I really want to be respectful of people's time commitments here. I hear you, Josh, that, for the IBC, we asked a lot of the tag. And as of today, it's like we're not asking very much at all of the tag, just to review something on short notice and rubber stamp it. And I don't want that for our building code, development process. So, I think, as we're going through here, the desires to attempt to keep on the timelines as Patrick outlined, but it sounds to me like we're not ready to be taking votes on this, and I liked the idea to pull out the low-hanging fruit, maybe look at the stuff, at least in the report that we're looking at here today, look at the things that we're looking to not see movement on, and come back at a future meeting to the sections that we are advertising some movement on, and whether or not it's just modify with new model code language or to repeal an amendment because of like what we have before us that, by my reading, the regulatory effect for local exhaust is the same as the model code language this in 2024. But if there's something, out there, I think it behooves us to take a little bit more time. Angela, I'd like to ask you what your thoughts are on the so today we came into this trying to get it down the road as fast as possible, and it sounds like the reins need to be pulled just a little bit. What are your thoughts on going through this kind of at a high level, introducing the document, not taking any particular votes on the content? I think, the preface in chapter 1, we can probably leave as is. Those are not the meat and potatoes, so to speak, of the code. But from chapter 2 on, we just introduce the recommendation that staff has and have some discussion, take some notes on that, and then come back next week and really try to slam dunk this.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. And then as we're going, people can take notes on things that they have a concern about or whatever, so that they can come back also with their sort of informed opinions so that we can discuss them still, hopefully at a pretty good click. For a lot of these things on this report, it shouldn't be a huge, there shouldn't be huge changes being made on this document. I mean, it's either we need to make a change or we don't, kind of thing. So yeah, no, I think that's an excellent idea. And yeah, I think the rest of this meeting we use to sort of move through this, make note of where there could be some issue and get
Okay.
it done. Yeah, and then I do agree, I guess we should take a pulse on meeting times. If we're gonna do it twice a week for 3 hours at a hit, what works best for people, we should get that ironed
Yeah.
out.
Josh, you said you had to leave a little bit early. Do you know about what time you need to head out?
I need to head out at 11.
Okay. So, I guess would like to maybe try to hash out the upcoming meetings while we have full participation with what we've got here today. Um, I will make my schedule work for what works best with this group. So if Tuesday, Thursday mornings work best, or Tuesday morning, Thursday PM, or Monday, Wednesday, the only no-go is going to be Fridays because we typically have 3 weeks out of the month, we have BFRW, executive committee, and council meetings on Fridays. So those are Fridays, my only no-go day. And so everything else is open for meetings. So I guess let's start with Tuesday AM. Does Tuesday AM work for the majority of folks here? Is there any conflict? I guess can we raise hands?
Not all members are here. Can we just send out a scheduling poll and then just focus on getting as much through this report as possible?
Yeah, I'm open to that. Sound like a plan to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Works for me.
All right, then we will send out a scheduling poll, and the desire is to do 2 times 3 hours a week or 3 hours a meeting, and we'll get a scheduling poll out there and see what works best for the majority, and we will I guess update at the next meeting when that will be, and so I guess based on the poll we'll send out meeting invites for next week, and I guess the days could change depending on the poll results. Alrighty, I guess as we go through here and look at existing amendments, any suggestion that staff has made has been based on new model code language, not any desire to change an amendment. So we're looking at amendment movement or new model code language. So any recommendation is based on those two factors. So I'm going to run through here, and any of these blue boxes, I'm going to skip for now. Unless there's a specific section anybody wants to talk about in any of these, I'm happy to pause and talk about them. But in the interest of getting through both of these as an introduction here today so that we can talk about them more robustly at the next meeting, anything that we're looking to leave static, I'll move on. So we'll be looking at green boxes and light orange boxes. For lot line, this one, by my reading, the definition of lot line in the 2024 model code is substantially similar, and it would be my recommendation to repeal this existing amendment and go back to the model code language for this definition. Just as we go through, I have some rationale. In the interest of time, not everything on here has all the rationale in here. This is a deep dive into filings and things like that, trying to track the genesis of these amendments and track them across different codes. But not everything in this report is going to have all the rationale documents linked to it. So that's apologies on my part, but I needed to get this out to you guys sooner than later, and that part was taking a long time. So as far as existing definitions, that we're looking for movement on, I just have local exhaust and lot line, with, recommendations there. For the remainder of chapter 2 definitions, all the state amended definitions, I'm not recommending any changes. As we get into chapter 3, for anchorage of water heaters, I am recommending we repeal this existing amendment. I would say that the UPC language is still effective for the requirement, but that I have some notes in here on the significant changes report, saying that, we don't need this amendment anymore. As we move into section 302.2.2, common walls, I'm recommending that we modify our amendment just to incorporate the blue language you see right here. Let me get this so it's on the same page-ish. So they've added the word openings to the language there. I'm just looking to bring that in here. I don't think it changes any regulatory effect for this one. For continuity, a similar scenario where they add roof to before the word deck in there. I'm looking to incorporate the model code language for this particular state amendment. For fire resistant construction, 302.2.4 parapets for townhouses. There's a lot of new model code language, or not a lot of new model code language, but new vocabulary added to it. And with the new vocabulary, the WAC language is identical. So my recommendation is to repeal the existing amendment. Same for the next section for table 302.1 exterior walls. The amendment currently in WAC says no change to the table, just the footnotes have some changes. And with the new model code language additions, this has the same effect by my reading as the state amendment. And same for table 302.1, number 2, exterior walls for dwellings and townhouses with automatic sprinkler systems. With new model code language added to footnote C, this one reads, has the same effect as the state amendment. In 302.3, this section has a bunch of new language in here. So my suggestion is to modify the existing amendment, but to see the significant change report. This one, I do believe, gets split into a couple different sections. Where's my code book? Let's see. So here is that new code language. Stop for now. So they split this into some new code sections here. And so to modify our existing amendment, it needs to be split into a couple different locations, and I have it kind of outlined in the significant changes report. Same for all of these. We've got new model code language added in here, but these amendments in this section are for the most part getting modified or repealed because of the changes in the model code language.
Hey, Dustin,
Yes, ma'am.
are you sharing your screen? Are you trying to share your screen? Because I'm not seeing anything if you are.
Oh,
I see
like,
it.
You
I
are?
see it.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave and come right back to see if that's part of my problem because I'm not seeing anything.
okay, well, be sure to let me know, and if not, I'll try to just refresh the share and make sure that you're seeing stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so these sections 302.3, the subsections are all, the modifications are there. The suggestions are there because of the changes in the model code. We've got new model code language added for continuity. I believe these amendments were brought in the 2018 cycle to bring in the new code sections to our state amendment prior to their genesis at the model code level. Is it going to help if I share the base code language alongside of this? If I bring them side by side, it'll make what we're looking at here even smaller, and I want to make sure everybody can see on the screen.
I've got it open on a separate window for myself, and that's
Okay.
working pretty well.
Okay, thanks. And Mariko, I see you're back on with us. Are you seeing the screen share?
Yep, I am. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So we have, I guess, getting down to 30233 for supporting construction. We have new model code language for that section. This model code language, this one's moved to 30234, and the new model code language is substantially similar as this particular section. So recommending repealing this amendment. For 30234 fire resistant construction. This is a Washington specific amendment or a code language section that doesn't have a location in the 2024 model code. So I'm indicating a target of 302.3.3.3, which would come after vertical assemblies. For 30235 shared accessory rooms, looking to repeal that one. The new model code language is identical to our amendment. And this one moves from 30235 to 30236. Fire resistant construction, opening protection moves from 302.351 to 361. And the new language in the model code has the same effect by my read. Same for duct penetration, other penetrations, there's some movement there, but the new model code sections are reading this or have the same effect as these code sections. Same for table 30235, dwelling shared accessory room separations. Brings us to 30213, fire protection of floors. This one doesn't move, but there's some new model code language shown in blue here, which adds a new exception there. And so the recommendation is to incorporate the new model code language to that section. 303.1 natural light moves to 325.1.1. So this one's got a pretty big jump in location in the code. And the new model code language is added to this one. So it's the same as natural light. Let me get there so I'm not, so I can read what I got going on here side by side. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so there's some new model code language added that increases the verbiage there. And so I was looking to repeal the existing amendment and incorporate the model code language that is there for natural light. For adjoining rooms, there's an exception that's removed in the 2024 language. This is 325.1.3. And other than the removal of the exception, there's no change in the code language there. So we get into here, we got a bunch of amendments that we're looking to recommending keeping. The next one that we're looking to repeal is 303.9, which is moved to 325.1.1. This it combines this section with the natural light section, and so I'm recommending repealing this one because it's included in the new model code language organization. At 307.1, it has moved to section 327.1. And on this one, we reference the plumbing code section 402.5. In some of the other codes we've talked about only referencing the code title, not necessarily the specific code section. The thought behind that is to let the reference to the code speak to itself, and you go find the specific section there. And if the section moves over different code cycles, we don't have to update this amendment if it only references the UPC instead of the state plumbing code section 402.5. So that was just a thought there. If we are not wanting to do that, we would need to verify that the UPC section is accurate, and that would be the only modification suggested there. For 309.6 electric vehicle charging, recommending modifying the existing amendment. We have some changes in the significant change report that adds new language to the model code. My suggestion is to incorporate the new model code language. And then we also have a proposal in hand for this particular section. And this one's moved from 309.6.1 to 317.6.1. And we'll keep on moving. 310.1 emergency escape and rescue openings required, recommending to modify the existing amendment to incorporate the model code language. For the most part, there's not a lot of regulatory change, but we've got an addition of storm shelters construction in accordance with ICC 500. It's a new exception there. And that would be the recommendation, is just to incorporate new model code language. For 311.4, vertical egress moves to 318.4. And just a recommendation to incorporate new model code language into this amendment. For 314.1.1, just some new model code language with a recommendation to incorporate. And I have a comment here. I'm not sure what it says. So this is not included in the model code language, in just a suggestion to include with the amendment language. 314.3 location, recommending to incorporate model code language to this particular amendment. For 324.4 rooftop mounted photovoltaic systems, I'm suggesting removing amendment referencing R907. Just this section is what I would recommend keeping on this one, and keeping all the other exceptions for this particular amendment. This is kind of a suggestion to align with what I was talking about for referencing specific code sections in here. This has also been incorporated into a new section, so there's a lot of new photovoltaic language in the code this season. For swimming pools, spas, and hot tubs, 327.1 moves to 328.1. It's suggesting removing the reference to the 2021 version of the ISPSC, and just calling for the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code. But that's just a suggestion. We would need to update that to the 2024 version. If not. Then for 328.2 equipment listings, I am suggesting that we add back energy storage systems to this code section. It's instead of leaving it as ESS, this would be align it with the model code language. Verify. 330.2. Yeah, so the amendment here just strikes energy storage systems and leaves it as ESS. And so in the model code, energy storage systems parentheses ESS is model code language. So that's the recommendation there. For adult family homes, I recommended repealing this particular amendment. We don't need to reserve unused code sections. If we're saving anything, we need to save WAC spaces. So if we, for some reason, had WAC 5151, 0320, 0330, and we didn't have any amendments in there, we would reserve that section. We do have a proposal for this section, and that came in from Quinn. Quinn, do you want to talk about this one a little bit?
I guess, I mean,
I mean, we
the
don't have
reason,
to, but
well, no, it's fine. So you want me to talk about why I put it in point two or?
well, yeah, I mean, I thought it goes well there.
Yeah.
But this is the one I was talking about that clarifies, some stuff that's in statute, but it's not in the code language.
Correct. So, yeah, so I looked at this one and, my first thought was, okay, typically when you want to do a code proposal, you put it at the end. But then if you look at like most of the IRC code language, fire protection is usually near the beginning, like right after general. So, and I saw that 330.2 was reserved for anything for the future. And so I thought, so my proposal is to add automatic fire sprinklers in this section because it's already required for adult family homes when you are exceeding 6 adults per the RCW. So instead of going to the RCW for code officials and designers, like you're going bouncing around from code section to code section, why not just put it in the IRC itself so you don't have to bounce around to find the requirements for fire sprinklers. And again, it's only for when you exceed 6 adults, and this is all based on DSHS requirements.
Yeah. I've always, when I moved to Washington, first started doing Washington code administration, I found it, to be a headache to have to go back to the DSHS RCW to get to the sprinkler requirement. So I think that's a nice amendment. So, but the recommendation on this report, I think, should remain the same, and then the proposal will just bring that back and make it easy. Moving forward for the rest of adult family homes, the recommendation is to keep the existing amendments. I do have a change here to change this to a 333.7. I believe 333 is going to be the new section for adult family homes to fit the organization of the 2024 IRC. And you see my other target sections for here as well. Then we get to family home childcare. For these, I've got some recommendations to move to targeted sections. But other than that, I don't have any recommended modifications to the family home childcare sections. For lofts, Jen.
Sorry, does the family home child care include the new stuff that was created by emergency rule or whatever the process was to increase the number of kids in the home?
I do believe it should in here.
Okay, I think I see it says additional requirements for 13 to 16. Yep. Thanks.
You're welcome. Getting into the lofts section of the code,
Just real quick, if I can,
Go
on
ahead.
that.
Yeah.
If we should probably just make note if the final adoption of the 2024 code is gonna be the time when that emergency rulemaking is made permanent. then we should notify that that's happening in the rulemaking document so it's clear to people.
Okay.
Can we actually put an asterisk under the 331.3 sprinklers as something that we need to discuss? Because just as I'm doing plan review, I'm coming up with issues that each room used for childcare shall have a door compliant is kind of, it's a little bit vague. So does that mean every restroom that is used for childcare needs an exit door? There's just been some of those questions that have come up. So if we could discuss that as a group.
Okay. Let me make some note there. And so what you said, Jen, is to just put a pin in 331.3 for some further discussion?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Let me fill that one. All right. Getting back to sleeping lofts, this one, I have for the whole section recommendations to repeal the sections or to repeal the amendments because there's new sections in the model code that are substantially similar. So we're looking at 315. There's pretty much section 315. And that one's titled Sleeping Lofts. So the whole section in the model code is indicated as new. And by my reading, the regulatory effect of this section is the same as our state amendment. So all of 330 there's just section 333, I've got recommendations to repeal the existing amendment. And that brings us to the end of chapter 3. Is there anything else we should circle back it and put a pin in or anything? So far, I've only got a pin for 331 in chapter 3. Okay. Moving on to foundations. Section 403.1.1 stays the same as far as location. Some new model code language that brings crushed stone footings for cast in place concrete foundations. The recommendation is to incorporate that model code language to the state amendment. And as far as the remaining amendments in chapter 4, the recommendations are to keep the remainder of those. In chapter 5 for floors, for 507.4 deck posts, recommending to repeal the existing amendment. The amendment is the same as the model code language at this point. For 507.5, location remains the same. The new model code language that I'm recommending to incorporate into the existing amendment. And then I have a suggestion here as well. So this table's 507.5 number 1 through 507.5 number 4 are not adopted. I was making a recommendation to break that out into specific lines to put into the model code just in case that's not 100% clear to somebody who might be looking at WAC alongside just a model code book. That's just a suggestion. 507.6 deck joists. The model code language is the same as our existing amendment. So the recommendation is to repeal the existing amendment. I have the same for 507.9.1.2 for band joist details. The model code language is the same. That brings us to Chapter 6, Wall Construction. And any amendments in Chapter 6, recommending keeping them the same. For Chapter 7, in 703.1.1, water resistance, recommending to incorporate the new model code language. They change water resistant barrier to water resistive barrier. And so recommend updating that language. In Chapter 8, we have no existing amendments. Chapter 9, recommending keeping the existing amendment the same. Potentially changing it to just the state plumbing code if that was something we wanted to do across the codes. Chapter 10, chimneys and fireplaces. Recommending maintaining all of those amendments as is. Chapter 11, energy efficiency is not adopted and governed by 5111R for residential construction. Chapter 12, recommending to keep all the existing amendments the same. Chapter 13, general mechanical system requirements for anchorage of appliances. I have a note on here to verify this UPC section is still accurate and then incorporate the model language removal. So my recommendation is to put the cross-out language back in there. Quinn.
Yeah, just a minor question here. When you say state plumbing code, I know we had this discussion at the fire tag and the building code tag. Should it say Washington State? I mean, it's a minor thing, but legally, I think the full title is Washington State Building Code, Washington State Plumbing Code.
I think that that is an accurate, it's something we should do as Washington State Plumbing Code, yes. All right. Chapter 14, heating and cooling equipment and appliances, recommending to keep the existing amendment the same. Maybe put the reference to Washington State Plumbing Code on this one as well. Chapter 15, exhaust systems. In 1503.5, kitchen exhaust rates, looking to recommend incorporating the model code language changes there. So 1504.3, exhaust openings, making a recommendation to incorporate new model code language. For 1505.4.4, local exhaust rates, another recommendation to incorporate model code language. And the remaining amendments in Chapter 15 with recommendations to retain the same. Brings us to Chapter 16, duct systems, with a recommendation to maintain the amendment in 1601.1.1, above ground duct systems. Chapter 17, combustion air, recommending to keep the existing amendment in 1701.1 for scope. For Chapter 18, chimneys and vents, we have no existing amendments. Chapter 19, special appliances, equipment, and systems, no existing amendments. Chapter 20, boilers and water heaters, with a recommendation to maintain the existing amendments in that chapter. Chapter 21, hydronic piping, recommendations to maintain all of the existing amendments in there. Maybe we'd entertain the Washington State Plumbing Code in these sections. But maybe I'm gonna put a note there for that. Chapter 22, special piping and storage systems, no existing amendments. For chapter 23, solar thermal energy systems, recommending to maintain the existing amendments there. And then I guess we should be talking about just overarching editorial to the Washington State Plumbing Code across the code language. Chapter 24 for fuel gas, no existing amendments. Chapter 25 for plumbing administration is not adopted. We do the Uniform Plumbing Code, WAC 5156. So until we get to chapter 29, we have a amendment in 2904.1.1 for required sprinkler locations. This aligns with some of our other amendments pointing to dwelling unit sprinkler systems. And so recommending to maintain the amendment within this section. And then the remaining of the plumbing and electrical sections we don't adopt. Chapter 44, reference standards, looking to update the ANCE to the most current standard, but it's not included in the 2024 model code, I believe. Let me just check on that one. Yeah, the ANCE standard is not included within the model code. So I believe the 2019 version, or there might be a newer version than the 2019 version is what I'm trying to say on that one. For the ANSI standards, we have an amendment, and the recommendation is to modify our amendment to update to the newest standard, and then verify our reference in G2414.5.4 is still an accurate reference for this one. The remaining standard modifications, recommending that we maintain the same. Chapter 45 is a chapter that was added by Washington State at the end of the book. This is all state amendment. There is no chapter 45 in the 2021 code. And so the recommendation is to keep this amendment here. There is no existing buildings chapter in the 2024 IRC. And so the recommendation is just to maintain all of that as is. Then with Appendix AA, sizing and capacities of gas piping, we have no amendments. Appendix AB, sizing of vent systems, no existing amendments. Appendix AC, exit terminals of mechanical draft and direct venting systems, no existing amendments. Appendix AD, recommended procedure for safety inspection of an existing appliance installation, no amendments. Appendix AE, manufactured housing used as dwellings, no existing amendments. Appendix AF, radon control methods we adopt across Washington, and the amendments I'm recommending to maintain the same. Appendix AG through AP, we have no amendments in those particular appendices. For Appendix AQ for tiny houses, I have recommendations to keep most of those, except for AQ 106 energy conservation. I have notes for the 2021 AQ 104 in the significant changes section. I believe this one goes away in that particular appendix. Coming on down the line, let's see. It changes to BB 106. Let me get in there. I think this one should be keep existing amendment, honestly. So there's a BB 106 for energy conservation. I'm not sure why I have it in here as modify. Um, but I'll double check the AQ 104. Um, I'll have to dig into that one. Right. Appendix AR and Appendix AS, we have no amendments. Appendix AT solar ready provisions for AT 1021, suggesting repealing the existing amendment. I have notes in here that it's included for clarity and no longer in the 2024 model code text. So since we don't need, since this section goes away, I don't think we need this amendment anymore. I'll be happy to discuss further. The remaining amendments in here recommending to maintain the same. Appendix AU through Appendix AX, we have no amendments in those sections. For Appendix AWU, dwelling unit fire sprinkler systems, this is a appendix added by the state of Washington with no recommendations to modify any amendments in here. In this AWU P2904.1.1 is kind of identical with the P2904 amendment that we had earlier. Appendix AWV fire sprinklers, another Washington added appendix, no recommendations to modify the amendments. Appendix AWY, construction and demolition material management is a Washington appendix with recommendations to maintain as is. And the same for the Appendix AWZ, building deconstruction, to keep the existing amendments the same. And that brings us to the end of the existing amendment report. Happy to pause here and talk about anything specifically, or we can maybe entertain a bio break if anybody needs it, or just blaze on through into the significant changes report. All right. Anybody need a bio break by chance?
Yeah, I'll step out for a couple minutes.
Okay, then let's do a halt here until 11, and then we'll come back and we'll hit the existing significant changes reports. Josh?
Just a quick reminder, I will be leaving at 11, so I won't be back after this break.
Okay, thank you, Joshua.
Yep, thank you.
Dustin, do you have a second?
I do.
Yeah. Hey, one thing I was thinking on some of these IRC amendments, the structures determined unsafe by the engineer of record. A lot of IRC structures are also done by architect of record. I was always wondering if that was something that, I mean, it may have to be a proposal, but are people for the residential, could it be the structures determined unsafe by design professional? That makes sense, because the IRC doesn't have registered design professionals.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it could.
That had to be a code change proposal, though, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no problem. Just thought I'd ask that. I'm not in the IRC as much. I just was listening in, and it seems like a lot of times there isn't an engineer record for an IRC project. And I'm wondering if you could do it for like a design professional, and then the building official has to approve that design professional is qualified to do the work. So,
gotcha.
In the future, I guess, be something maybe I'll put in.
All right, is everybody back with us? I see a smattering of thumbs up. Before break, we finished up with the existing amendments report. We're gonna go into the significant changes report now, as an introduction. Patrick?
Do we need a motion on the existing report since it's a separate agenda item?
Um, well, so as far as what we have going on here, we have it marked for tag action. We didn't say as far as the agenda saying we're approving or disapproving that one, but I suppose it would be most appropriate to have a motion to table the existing amendments report until our next meeting.
I'll move to consider it at the next meeting.
Do we have a
I'll second
second?
that. I'll second that.
Okay, does anybody have any discussion on that? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right,
Alrighty. Thank you, Patrick. All right, so with the existing amendments report tabled, we're getting into the significant changes review. For R 101. So for this one, we're going, the color scheme is largely the same. A modification to the amendment is going to be indicated by a green box. No change to model code language will be indicated by a light blue box. And something where we might need to repeal an amendment because of the new model code language will be indicated by the light orange or red box, depending on perspective there. So as we run through this one as a primer, only going to be stopping on the green or red boxes to discuss them, or if I have some highlighted boxes that have some pertinent information in there. So for 101.2 scope, we have that section marked for some work to be done there. We have a existing amendment here, and we have a proposal on this one to hopefully clean up what we have in the 2021 to the 2024 version of the Washington State Residential Code. Moving through chapter 1. Beyond that 101.2, no recommendations to do anything with the new model code language changes. In chapter 2 for definitions, for cavity insulation, recommending that we don't adopt the portion of this one that says applicable in chapter 11, C 1101.6. We should change that to C for applicable definitions. C the Washington State Residential Energy Code. And what I have in here is not accurate. Oh no, what I have in here is to remove this definition from the residential code. If we wanted to keep it, we would want to reference the state residential energy code, but need to reference the appropriate section. And I'm not sure that this definition is included in the WSEC residential. Same thing for chimney, chapter 11. Hold on. This one's not accurate. This one's for definitions applicable in chapter 24. So this statement needs to go away and to be changed to a no. Moving on, we've got for definitions of common areas, recommendation to remove this from the model code since chapter 11 is not adopted and the energy code is controlled by the WSCCR. Most of the definitions changes that I'm recommending are as a result of references to chapter 11 in here. Same for continuous pilot. I guess back to construction documents, maintain the definition, but remove the last sentence here with the reference to chapter 11. For damper, chapter 11 is not adopted. So just removing the sentence referencing chapter 11, but maintaining the sentence that refers to the definition in chapter 24. For demand, keeping that one, sorry, it's demand response signal for the definition applicable in chapter 11, recommending removing this definition. Same for demand responsive control. Same for dimmer. Same for distribution system efficiency. Same for duct airflow balancing. Same for ductwork. Then we get to the definition of dwelling unit. I have a note there to see back to the existing amendment report and the recommendation to incorporate new model code language that points to chapter 24 for a definition applicable to that chapter. Back to removing definitions because of reference to the energy code. Emittance, recommend removing enclosed reflective airspace and energy rating index. For existing building, recommend removing the sentence that references chapter 11 and retaining the remainder of that code section. For F factor thermal transmittance, recommending to remove because of reference to chapter 11. For the definition of fire separation distance, I have a note to look back to the existing amendment report. And the recommendation is to incorporate the townhouse units language into that definition. Put that together. For the definition of fuel gas, recommend a modification to remove reference to chapter 11, but maintain the reference to chapter 24. For fuel oil, recommending removing this definition because it only references chapter 11. For grade plane, I recommend removing the last sentence to reference chapter 11. And I would see all these that reference chapter 11 and not the state energy code as editorial modifications. For heat exchanger, same, needs to reference the state energy code. And I don't think these definitions exist there. I have to double check. For intermittent ignition, same. For interrupted ignition, the same. For knee wall, the same. For liquid fuel, the same. For living space, the same. For low slope, the same. For occupant sensor control, the same. For occupiable space, the same. For on-demand pilot, the same. For on-site renewable energy, the same. For the definition of plenum, recommend removing the reference to chapter 11 and retaining the remainder of the definition. For radiant barrier, recommend removing the definition because of reference to the chapter 11. For ready to access, recommend removing the section that references chapter 11. Reflective insulation, recommend removing the entire definition for reference to chapter 11. For renewable energy certificate, remove the entire definition for reference to chapter 11. Same for renewable energy resources. For simulated building performance, the same. Same for skylight. And for the definition of sleeping unit, recommend removing the new model code language reference to chapter 11. For solar ready zone, reference to chapter 11, remove the whole definition. For space conditioning, remove that reference, and space conditioning equipment. And for steep slope, the same. And substantial improvement, just the section to reference chapter, 11, should be removed from this definition. Same for the testing unit enclosure area, thermal distribution efficiency, and thermostat. Yeah, so the chapter 11 section for thermostat to be removed, the rest of it remain the same. For the definition of work area, recommend removing that one because of reference to the chapter 11. And that is the end of chapter 2. Anything we should pause on or go back to? Saw no hands popped up during. Okay. I'm going to move on to chapter 3. Elizabeth?
Yeah, I had a question about ERI. I think you removed that definition, but I recall from the residential energy tag that we might be putting that back into Washington's residential energy code. So we might want to pin that if that's something we need in the future.
Patrick?
The question I had was just sort of generally to ask that if we remove a definition related to the energy code in the residential code because we don't adopt chapter 11, there's no negative impact there, right? Because for any energy efficiency thing, people are going to be looking in the energy code and all the definitions for that are going to be in that code, and we don't need to duplicate that in the residential code. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is the intent behind all this, that any definition that's in the residential code is applicable to the residential code. One thing I did not go through and do is to check to see if all of these definitions are included or not included in the residential energy code. But that is something that I think we could correlate a little bit later. Angela?
Yeah, if it's not used in the IRC, it shouldn't be in the IRC. So whether they are actually in the energy code or not, that's the energy code issue. There wouldn't be a correlation for us to make sure that they are added there or not, because that if they're used in there, then they should already be there. So yeah, so removing them because they aren't applicable to the IRC is the better way to do it.
Gotcha. Okay, we get back to chapter 3. And so this report is by far the longer of the two reports, but there shouldn't be anywhere near as much change highlighted here as well. So, all right, chapter 3. I'm just going to be going through, looking at these. If they're not a blue box, I'll stop. And if there is anything that anybody wants to stop at, raise your hand and we can definitely discuss some stuff if the recommendations to not or to incorporate model code change. All right, for anchorage of water heaters, I have see the existing amendment report and the recommendation to repeal the existing amendment here because of the new model code language covering the need. For two-family dwellings, I have see the existing amendment report and modify. The red text is suggested as the modification here. I do believe that these are the ones that have new code language sections and kind of incorporate some different sections into one section here. So a modification or an amendment's needed here, but mainly to incorporate Washington amendments into new sections. That is the same here. Just the red is a suggestion to add to this particular section to align with our existing amendment. For 302 3.3, this is a note back to the existing amendment, just to repeal the language because the new model language has the same effect. And it's red. We don't need an amendment, but we need to change the WAC for this particular one. This is a same as the one above, so supporting construction. Repeal the existing amendment because the new model language has the same effect as the existing amendment. Same for this shared accessory room. Repeal the existing WAC language. Same for opening protection. The new model language has the same regulatory effect. Same for duct penetration and same for other penetrations. Oops. I pressed a button and it messed me up. 1 second. All right, we're back to where we were. For 310.3 location of smoke alarms, it adds sleeping lofts to the locations with the recommendation to modify our existing amendment to this section to incorporate that new model code language. Same here for sleeping lofts. We don't need an amendment to this section, and the recommendation is to repeal the existing amendment. Same for sleeping loft limitations, sleeping loft ceiling height, sleeping loft area, permanent egress for sleeping lofts, and sleeping or ceiling height at sleeping loft means of egress. All the new model code language seems to cover the existing amendment requirements. Uh, 317.6 electric vehicle charging systems. We have a new section that incorporates amendments from 309.61 here. I have a pointer to see the existing amendment report. We need an amendment to this section to incorporate that existing amendment here. A major emergency escape and rescue openings required. A yes here to modify the existing amendment, add sleeping lofts to the section and ICC 500 as a standard for storm shelters. So just modifying the existing amendment. For 325.1.1, the requirements for natural light and ventilation are combined in section 325. This modification splits the requirements into their own subsections with no intended technical changes, and it contains the existing amendment language. So a no for modification here, but we would need to repeal the existing amendment on the natural light section. For 403.1.1 footings minimum size, a new model code language is added for crushed stone footing provisions to also be used for masonry foundations. So we have an existing amendment here and recommendation to incorporate the blue language into our existing amendment. The end of chapter 4 brings us to chapter 5, which is floors. For 507.5 deck beams, there's some new clarifying language that the recommendation is to incorporate into our existing amendment. Brings us to chapter 6, wall coverings. And then no recommended modifications there in chapter 6. Chapter 7, wall coverings for vapor retarders. We have some new language here that coordinates the installation of vapor retarders between part 2 and part 4 of the IRC. An amendment is needed to remove the reference to chapter 11. And that's all we have going on there. Uh, 702.7.2 vapor retarder installation. A new section clarifies vapor retarder installation. We need to change the reference to chapter 11 to the Washington State Energy Code residential. So an amendment is needed there. Exterior wall coverings, where water resistive barrier serves as air barrier, it must also comply with energy provisions. It allows foam plastics to be used as a water resistive barrier and also as an exception for detached unconditioned accessory structures. This change is needed here to remove the reference to chapter 11 and change it to the Washington State Energy Code residential. Brings us to chapter 8, roof and ceiling construction. No recommended modifications within that chapter. Chapter 9, roof assemblies. Brings us to chapter 11, which is not adopted, so no significant changes are identified in this chapter. With chapter 12, mechanical administration, no significant changes were indicated in the model code. Chapter 13, general mechanical system requirements. No recommendations for modifications due to changes. Chapter 14, heating and cooling equipment and appliances. No recommended modifications. Chapter 15, exhaust systems. For M1503.5 kitchen exhaust rates, an editorial change has been made for local exhaust rates for kitchens and bathrooms moved out from whole house mechanical ventilation. This is one that we have an existing amendment on, and the recommendation is to incorporate new model code language into our existing amendment. For chapter 16, duct systems. No recommended modifications. In chapter 17, combustion air, no significant changes were indicated. Same for chapter 18, chimneys and vents. The same for chapter 19, special appliances, equipment, and systems. Chapter 20, boilers and water heaters. No recommended modifications for that change. Chapter 21, hydronic piping. No recommended modifications. Chapter 22, special piping and storage systems. No significant changes indicated. Chapter 23, solar thermal energy systems. No significant changes indicated. Chapter 24, fuel gas. No recommended modifications to those changes. Chapter 25, plumbing administration through chapter 43. They're not adopted. Chapter 44, reference standards. Quinn?
Yeah, Dustin, I have to actually bail for another meeting. Jen is my primary anyway, so I'm just the alternate. But yeah, I do have another meeting I have to attend.
Thank you, Quinn. Appreciate your time today.
I need to leave for another meeting as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Leah. Let me make some notes here. Not that we're looking to make any votes for the remainder of this meeting. I'm just gonna make sure I have our attendance taken care of. All right, we're still sitting with a quorum with those two departures. With the chapter 44 reference standards, the modifications here are mainly just updating the standards to the most current versions. We'll see a couple of things in here for the ANSI standard to modify the existing amendment to incorporate these changes into the ANSI sections. There's a bunch of ANSI sections in here. And I guess the existing amendment only covers a couple of them, but I include the whole section here. This is one of the ones that we have the amendment on. And it might be the only one. I'm not 100% sure from memory. APA, the ASCE/SEI, the ASHRAE, the ASME, the ASSE, the ASTM, we're getting to the end of the ASTM. All right, the AWC, the AWPA, AWS, AWWA, the CISPI, the CPA, the CRRC, CSA, the CTA, the DASMA, DHA, DOC, DOE, FEMA, the GA, the IATMO, ICC, IEC, MSS. For the most part, most of these are no recommendation. They're just updating to the most current standards here. Let me see if I can get through these a little faster. All right, then we get to the appendices. Appendix BB, the entire appendix has been moved from AQ to BB. Within that movement, there's no technical language changes. Then I have just a note, see also the existing amendments report. For radon control methods, I have no recommendations to change any of the model code language updates there and to maintain the existing state amendments within that section. Have several appendices not adopted. Brings us to Appendix NB, solar ready provisions for detached 1 and 2 family dwellings and townhouses. This one's moved from AT to NB, with no technical language changes. I also have point back to the existing amendments report to maintain anything we do have in this appendix. And that brings us to the end of this report. So is there anything we'd like to go back and talk about, Patrick?
Yeah, I was just gonna note on the seismic design category that was a
ways back.
while ago, but yeah, it's kind of not really been caught by a lot of the places that talk about the significant changes, but there was pretty big changes in the maps for the seismic design categories, and because of that, in the 2024 IRC, a good chunk of Western Washington is going to increase to seismic design category E. I actually, BIW submitted a proposal preemptively because the proposal window opened up before the tags could review this. Wasn't really sure if the tag was going to make an amendment or not, so we wanted to put something out there, but just wanted to flag that for other folks that that's a really big change in the maps. The figures have changed. It's not so much the code language that's causing it as the mapping has changed. And that's gonna be a real big change for a good chunk of Western Washington, making them go up in a seismic design category and have a lot more extra requirements. And we'll need a structural engineer for most homes for that. So.
Yes, I know. I actually live in that area where that change is happening. It used to be just a little blob of E out here on the peninsula, and now the whole coast is E, I believe. Is that accurate, Patrick?
Um, I think it goes even a bit farther. I think there's going to be parts of like Seattle and definitely Kitsap County and maybe even like Thurston County that are affected by it. So
Yeah.
it's going to be more than the
It's a
peninsula.
significant change for sure. So I'm glad that you guys put in a proposal on it and that we'll be talking about it a bit more. Is there anything else we'd like to go back and recap from anybody? Not seeing any hands popping up. So with that, then I'll turn it back over to Angela.
Okay, so I guess, do we want to table this until our next meeting also? Is that, I think, what we're gonna need to do, sort of the same thing as we did on the last report?
I think that that would be the best course of action. There's not a lot of movement advertised in that report, but just so that people can have time to review it, I think a looking for a motion to table till next meeting before taking official action would be good.
All right, can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? Patrick?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. So from a rulemaking standpoint, all of the blue language or the blue text that's going to be added into the WAC, and then all the areas where we're going to have you have flagged as needing an amendment, that there's going to be additional text that's going to need to come in amending the model code and likewise amending the WAC. Do I understand that correctly?
I think that that's generally accurate. Yes. So for blue text is I'm trying to reserve that for any model code language changes, and anything shown in red, which I don't have anything on this document shown in red, would be indicative of Washington state amendments. So when we're looking back at the existing amendments report, blue language is shown to show language added because of model code language changes. Anything shown in strikeout there is shown or showing the model code language that may have been removed from that. And so, yeah, I think you had it right.
Yeah. Anyone else? All right, so everyone in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. And done with that one.
All right, so the last agenda item we have here today is other business. I don't have any specific other business to bring, but what we did post for everybody was the proposals received for the IRC. And so I'd like to, I guess, just go over those, and if any of the proponents are here and want to speak on them, we can go ahead and start looking at them, but we can't take any official action on them. That's why they're listed in there for public comment only, no tag action.
Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to hear other people's thoughts. In my opinion, we're missing quite a few tag members at this point, and I'm not sure how many proponents or members of the public we have. I don't, it seems like we might just be duplicating work by talking about it now and then having to reintroduce it at next week. So that's kind of my thought. I don't know how productive it will be to start talking about any of the proposals yet.
I guess I wasn't necessarily trying to start discussing on any like the merit of the proposals, mainly just to kind of illustrate this is what we have. If it works to just show them and run through them, I'm fine with that. But we have another document we could look at here today that just is posted on our 2024 rulemaking page. It's posted on the IRC tag page, and it's also included in today's meeting documents. But I'll pull it up on screen, and if anybody wants to chat about anything specific, we can. If not, we can uh, entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, so, sorry, there we go. So for what we have going on here today, I advertised around 30. We had some duplicate lines on here when I first gave out that advertisement. So we have 21 total proposals for the IRC 2024. Most of them are Chapter 3 centric. There's a couple that hit a couple other spaces. I guess to some places to note, we have number 3 on here, 24 GP2025 is proposing the addition of a new appendix on visitability. Then there's a couple things in the mechanical sections, but the majority of our proposals are for Chapter 3. And if anybody wants to chat about any of these or say anything, I guess now's the time, and I'll turn it over to you, Angela, to carry us through.
Okay, so I mean, if nobody has any comments, sorry, we determined we're not going to go through them.
Oh, hey,
I
Patrick.
mean,
I had a question. Patrick, is our hot water tank discharge line, is that one of these? I can't, it's too small on my phone here.
I think that one's in the UPC, Ron. Sorry for jumping in, Angela.
Okay.
No, you're
All
good.
right. Thanks.
So then
Then,
I'll zoom in a little bit and then that far, and we can. I'll just read them off what we got going on. We have a 24. Just number 23 is for energy storage systems from Ken Brulette. Number 24 is regarding cutting, notching, and boring of dimensional wood. Number 25, appendix on visitability. Number 26 is on automatic sprinkler systems for adult family homes. Number 27 is on the administrative section for the application of the fire code. Number 28 is on section chapter 3 for minimum room size. Number 29 is on the administrative section for adult family home scoping clarification. Number 30 for stationary engine generator sections, correction. 31 is removal of a stacked unit special requirement. Number 32 is for accessory dwelling units within existing two-family dwelling clarifications. Number 33 has a determination of seismic design category. 34 for special wind regions in Washington. 35 for ground snow load determination. These will kind of correlate with some stuff that happened in the IBC earlier in the cycle. Number 36 for vapor retarder requirements. Number 37 is for EV charging and EV power transfer requirements. Number 38 for solar energy. Is there anything you'd like you want to look at any of these, Ron?
I'm good. I'm good. Oh, wait.
Okay.
I'm good. Thanks.
Gotcha. Let's see, for 039 carbon monoxide alarms requirements, clarifications, 040 heating, cooling equipment, refrigerants, and 041 for ventilation, 042 for boiler and water heater installation requirements, and then 043 for adult family homes, sections. And that's just a quick, overview of what we have, on here. And then as we go through the reports, we may get a couple more from the tag.
Okay. So yeah, I think with just 13 minutes left, unless someone has a specific one that they'd like to open and discuss. Patrick?
I was just gonna talk a little bit about, so if we do 2 meetings next week, we're probably gonna have 1 meeting to finish up the existing amendment significant changes report. And then we'll probably want to like introduce and at least initially discuss all the proposals either at that meeting or the next meeting. So then we have the week after to deal with any like further amendments or any changes we want done before finalizing them. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. I mean, whatever we can fit into the meetings, we're gonna fit in. Yeah. It all kind of comes down to the amount of discussion, disagreement, whatever that needs to be done. But I mean, yes, that would be the plan, is to get as much done in a short amount of time as we can while still producing a quality body of work. Okay. Is there anything else with this? Ken?
Hey, I was just wondering if staff, are you guys going to be able to notify the proponents of the meetings so they'll be able to attend just in case their petition gets up and running? Or you?
Yes, we can do that. As I guess if we're gonna entertain potentially introducing all these at the next meeting, everybody will get a message. And since we're trying to cram it all in, it's likely that all proponents will get notified anytime we're discussing proposals. But we'll include them in some noticing so that they can be aware of the meetings happening.
Yeah. And then after we close this meeting, you're gonna put together a meeting poll so that we can get something on the calendar as soon as possible for so everybody can schedule.
Yes, so here very soon after this meeting concludes, a poll will go out. And just a fair warning, it could be anywhere from Monday through Thursday next week, but we'll get the poll out, and once we get substantial results, we'll start scheduling stuff out.
Okay, perfect. All right. Do I need to do a motion to close the meeting?
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I don't think it's required. Sometimes we just adjourn the meeting and give people back some time for the day.
Yeah, I think if nobody has any other discussion points, I think we'll just adjourn the meeting. And everybody please be on the lookout for the scheduling poll so that we can get that done quickly. All right.
Well, I appreciate everybody's short notice attendance to this meeting, and I'm satisfied with the movement we're making for next week, and I'm hoping we can get the reports moved and approved, and we'll see everybody then.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.